I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists hitting children.
We cannot confirm at this point. We are aware of the heinous acts Hamas is capable of.
I care about both of these things and have said I care about both of these things over and over again. It is you. President Joe Biden says that he saw pictures of beheaded Israeli babies, a claim that is still in serious dispute. Let's watch what he said.
I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists hitting children. I never thought I'd ever, anyway. But there are countries in the region that are trying to be of some help, including Arab nations that are trying to be of some help. So, anyway.
Now, according to the Washington Post, a White House spokesperson later clarified that United States officials and the president have not seen pictures or videos of beheaded children or seen reports independently confirming that. The spokesperson said that Biden based his comments about these alleged atrocities on claims from Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu's spokesperson and also media reports from within Israel. The Israel Defense Forces declined to comment to the Washington Post on the state of the victims' bodies.
And just this morning, CNN reported that Israel cannot confirm the specific claim that babies were headed in a Hamas attack, according to officials contradicting previous public statements.
So this is what happens when you're talking and you're at that level and you're president and you say 4 sentences and one of those sentences so happen to be off. They're going to pull up a whole bunch of proof as to why you lied, because you did lie. Come on, guys. He misspoke. I think he misspoke. I think he was trying to embellish. I think he was just freestyling. I think he didn't really know what he was saying at the moment. I'm not trying to give him a pass or anything. I'm just saying the dude is old and he's not sharp. He's not mentally sharp. I don't know what we expect of him right now. Do you expect for him to address the nation and sound like he's coherent? Sound like he's really planned and prepared something for the American people that will make actual sense? No, we don't expect that. But what we're going to do is lock in on the fact that he lied. Let's call it lied, because that's what this video is saying, that he lied. And then we're going to get statements from other places to confirm or debunk his lie.
Meanwhile, Israeli photojournalist Oren Ziv, who covers conflicts in the region and was allegedly part of the media tour, commented on X, "I'm getting a lot of questions about the reports of Hamas beheaded babies that were published after the media tour in the village. During the tour, we didn't see any evidence of this, and the Army spokesperson or commanders also didn't mention any such incidents." Ziv goes on to say, during the tour, journalists were allowed to speak to the hundreds of soldiers on site without the supervision of the Army spokesperson team. I-24 reporter said she heard it, quote, from soldiers. Soldiers I spoke with in Kfar Aza yesterday didn't mention babies. The Army spokesperson stated, "We cannot confirm at this point. We are aware of the heinous acts Hamas is capable of."
Ziv also says, quote, "This doesn't mean that war crimes were not committed. The scene in Kfar Aza was horrific, with dozens of bodies of Israelis murdered in their homes. Sadly, Israel will now use these false claims to escalate the bombing of Gaza and to justify its war crimes there." That's according to that source. Now, as we covered yesterday, CBS News reported that an IDF spokesperson told them that more than one Israeli soldiers have seen young children that were decapitated, and in addition, the head of a civilian emergency response organization told CBS News that he had seen these atrocities. Hamas has denied the allegations that the organization committed crimes against women and children.
But that's a lie, though, because we just now saw a video the other day where somebody was caught and they were interviewed saying that they were taking women and children. And when they were asked what were they doing to the women and children, they said that they were graping. They were graping the women and the children. So, yeah, we just now listened to this video the other day. I don't get it. Because why would they deny that? Why would they deny it? I mean, they're showing all of the nastiness that they're doing. And they had someone admit to it a couple times, actually. And now we got them denying it per CBS and per CNN.
Hamas has rejected allegations that it committed crimes against women and children. This is the quote, "Some Western media outlets continue to spread Zionist slander and lies about our Palestinian people and their resistance, which falsely and slanderously promoted allegations that members of the Palestinian resistance beheaded children and assaulted women without any evidence to support their lies and claims. Hamas strongly condemns the baseless allegations."
So it looks like Biden lied from the pulpit in front of all of the entire American people, and repeated unconfirmed, we knew when we reported all of yesterday, was that it was unconfirmed. The IDF repeatedly declined to confirm, which was, I think, a red flag in and of itself. Of course, we were all waiting to see what got reported out because, of course, nobody would want to downplay or minimize such claims if they were to be true. But the fact that the IDF, who for obvious reasons has every interest in validating a horrific attack from Hamas against Israeli citizens as they are looking for international support, etc., the fact that they were unwilling to confirm the reports, I think, was a pretty significant red flag. And then the fact that there were, as the lie was spreading all across social media, being picked up, CNN said they confirmed it. CNN said they confirmed it midday yesterday, that it made it all the way to the White House and out of Joe Biden's lips. And then that lie transformed it from just there were 40 beheaded babies to I saw personally evidence of 40 beheaded babies. People jumped online saying, I told you so. You guys were trying to deny the cruelty of Hamas. I told you so. Because the president said it, a president who is so known for being a serial fabulist that his moniker is literally Lion Biden.
Yeah, Biden.
Wow, she is lighting Joe Biden's tail up. She is giving him the business, lying Biden.
Clearly got this one wrong. This rumor that has floated on social media and that several mainstream news organizations have grappled with is not in fact confirmed. They said it's one of those we talked to someone who saw it kind of thing. Biden has a long history of exaggerations, outright lies. In fact, he had to exit his first presidential campaign after plagiarizing a British politician's speech. He's made misstatements about the circumstances of Beau Biden's death. Him and other political figures, including Hillary Clinton and media figures, often have said things about how they were, close to the danger when they visited combat zones. Remember the whole helicopter or plane or whatever it was coming under fire that Hillary Clinton talked about. So just because conservatives know this, just because Biden says it does not make it true, and his own White House is not backing it up. That's with this story. It's not like it doesn't need to be true in order for the attacks to be horrific. The violence is horrific.
So did Karine Jean-Pierre or anyone from the White House say that he didn't mean to say that? Did they say that he misspoke? Are they saying that he didn't mean to say that or anything like that? Or did they say there is confirmation that these babies were, the rest of it?
There are bodies lining the streets. There are bullet-ridden corpses. Women died. Children died. It was an unprovoked attack on innocent, defenseless civilians, many of whom have been taken captive, and their lives are now being threatened. So this does not need to be true in order for this attack to rise to the level of.
What is the advantage? Because I have a theory of making up something like this.
What is your theory?
Well,
I don't know who. I think. I don't know who initiated the rumor. We heard something about injured children being moved from one location to another. I think that might be the genesis of it. If that is true, I don't know, but go ahead.
And to be clear, this lie has been parroted everywhere. I referenced in a different segment that there was a debate between Cornel West and Alan Dershowitz on Fox last night. One of the things that Dershowitz used to try to win the argument against Cornel West, who was arguing for the shared horror, the indiscriminate horror of dead children, whether they be Palestinian lives or precious Israeli lives. Dershowitz says, well, what about the 40 beheaded babies? And that, I think, is a clue to what that particular kind of a rumor does. If you have a tragic mass of death on both sides, including multitudes more Palestinians who have been killed over the last 10, 15 years than Israelis who have been killed. And children, Palestinian children, a much bigger, horrible, tragic, disgusting pile of Palestinian bodies, then you have to find a way to distinguish why those kind of raw numbers and why all of the children and the tragedy shouldn't be treated equally. And we see words like barbaric, barbarism.
Because it was barbaric.
Flung around. But the barbarism, the inhumanity, of bombing children in Palestine is not describing those same words. What you need to do is find language that makes it feel like there's something different to the character of it when an Israeli child is killed versus when a Palestinian child is killed. When a Palestinian child is killed, and we heard this from Dershowitz and many other defenders of the indiscriminate killing of Palestinian children, well, it must be the case that Hamas was using them as a human shield. It must be the case that a Hamas missile was located close to those children and it could not be helped. And on the other side, we're being told that Palestinians are keeping Israeli children in cages and decapitating them by the dozens. Neither which rumor turned out to be true. And yet in the middle of a tragedy that needed no embellishment to make the case for why Hamas's acts are horrible and tragic, there is still this embellishment, and I believe it is rooted in a desire to strip humanity from the people of Palestine and justify doing what Max Miller and a number of other officials in the Israeli government have said,
Max Miller is an obscure Republican official. It does not matter what he says.
So every leftist, wait a minute, Robbie, every leftist in America was asked to apologize for some random protest.
They should apologize. They should apologize for their endorsement of terrorist attacks on innocent Israeli civilians, just as I am outraged by the retaliatory actions that are killing innocent Palestinian children everywhere. I care about both of these things and have said I care about both of these things over and over again. It is you and the idiotic leftist terrorist sympathizing people who do not care about the dead Israelis. They don't.
So I'm a terrorist.
And they've said it over and over again. Black Lives Matter has said it. The Harvard students have said it. The DSA in various locations have said it. The left endorses what Hamas did. They do. They endorse it.
The Harvard newspaper said exactly what the editorial page of Israel's major newspaper said.
I don't give a Brianna.
Okay, well, that's clear. That's your opinion. But the Israeli voices in Israel who are getting killed because their fascist right-wing government decides to keep 2.3 million
The Israelis are getting
people.
killed because a terrorist group targeted them. And they bear responsibility for what they did.
Well, Robbie, if you think you know more than Israelis in Israel, then you can feel free to have your position. But the position of Israelis who are the ones that are being victimized by this terrorism is that the fact of stripping the rights of 2.3 million people in an apartheid state on their border are conditions
justify terrorist attacks on civilians in those towns.
Do you think that justifies terrorist attacks?
No.
Well, I don't either, so why do you keep saying that?
Well, I don't think the occupation is justified either. Okay. So why are you saying that I do?
Robbie, I'm not saying that you do, but I have yet to hear you offer a solution for why the people that have been kept in an open-air prison for 17 years and who are being indiscriminately bombed right now, and their water shut off, and their heat shut off, and their food shut off, and the access to medical supplies shut off, and UN staff members being killed by Israeli rockets, what is the solution for that group of people, 2.3 million people, to get self-determination?
Is the solution for a terrorist group to attack?
Answer the question. What is their solution?
I support a two-state solution.
Because there was a peaceful protest. There have been decades of peaceful protests. In 2018, there was this march, I always get the name wrong, sorry, March of Return, where thousands of Palestinians marched along the wall peacefully.
Not for nothing. I did not know that this conversation was going to turn up like this. This thing went off. Wow. They are really going at it. This is beautiful. This is how you have a conversation, especially if there's a disagreement.
Protesting, and Israeli IDF soldiers sniped down and shot them in the feet and knees, including children.
So that justifies...
Wait a minute. They tried BDS, and we were told, our own government said that if you support the boycott, divest, and sanction movement, you are not allowed to get a federal contract in several states, usually southern conservative states in the United States of America. So you're not allowed to do
DSA asks candidates whether they will make a pledge to never visit Israel. There's mutual boycotting going on.
What are you talking about? That's fine if they want to say that. The point is...
Of course.
No. The point is, you're allowed to boycott. The question is whether or not your political opinion should get you out of a job. I thought you were a libertarian. I thought you cared about that.
I'm going to read a statement from DSA San Francisco. Violent oppression inevitably produces resistance. Socialists support the Palestinian people's and all people's right to resist and fight for their own liberation. This weekend's events are no different.
I'm sorry, is that supposed to be own? They literally just recited international law, which allows occupied people to resist.
This is why I say you endorse the left is endorsing the terrorist activities.
Okay, you can say that all you want, but
if you think that resistance means a terrorist group is allowed to indiscriminately kill civilians, that is a monstrous point of view. That is the view of the DSA. And that's the view of Black Lives Matter.
It's not the view of Black Lives Matter.
It is. Patricia Cullors said that she wants to completely wipe Israel off the map. she did.
But it was the view of Black Lives Matter Chicago.
It's the view of someone who ran the Black Lives Matter Twitter page in Chicago.
All right.
And given that we just interviewed a libertarian, the head of the Libertarian Party, who just said that the Libertarian Party's rejection of RFK Jr. as a candidate was just a peccadillo by somebody that was running the Twitter account, and that she is very happy to embrace RFK Jr. as a candidate.
That's equivocating. I am calling out organizations and the public statements they're putting out, which endorse terrorist activity, endorse violence.
I like these two. I like both of them. I like the way that they argue their points. I like the way that they bring, they come in with talking points, their own side of talking points, but they all come with their own, they back it up with especially the one that's repping the left. She's backing hers up with actual information that came out, whether it's true or false. She's coming out with information to back it up. Patrisse Cullors, though, was dead ass wrong off of that one, because we just now seen a video of Patrisse Cullors, her talking. Like, it wasn't any he said, she said, or any of that. She was literally talking firsthand and said what she said about Israel. So, yeah, this is interesting. I like how they have their conversations, man. Like, I mean, well, the guy got a little turned up. Usually it's the leftists that get emotional first. But it seemed like the guy did it first this time. And although she was holding him off from speaking for a minute, because when he tried to interject a couple of times, she said, wait a minute. And she continued to do it. And he was just waiting and waiting and waiting. So I don't know what made him turn up like that. But as y'all always say, the one that gets mad first is the one that loses debate, which I think about this one so far.
Endorse murder of innocents.
The condemnable action is
if I was the left, I would want to separate myself from these organizations a little bit more.
If you are not so afraid of the words that are coming out of my mouth and would let me speak, Robbie, I would tell you. The condemnable action is the killing of civilians and innocents. The condemnable action is not resistance itself. That is something that is worth a distinction. And if you create conditions, every defender of Israel right now is saying, well, killing Palestinian kids is collateral damage. That's what it means for Israel to defend itself, that it's going to kill some Palestinian kids and innocents.
And I have criticized that every time it has appeared, has come across our screen.
But what the United States of America did was to stand at a podium and say, without any caveats, Israel has a right to do that, to defend itself, even if it means killing those innocent women and children. And what people are responding to is the inconsistency with which the lives lost that are innocents are treated. And yes, it matters infinitely more that a sitting Congress member, and by the way, also Lindsey Graham, it wasn't just Max Miller, it was any number of Republican Congress members. Lindsey Graham also echoed the sentiment that we should level Gaza. He wants to go to nuclear war with Iran. That's the situation we're in. And so you're sitting here criticizing whoever runs the Black Lives Matter Chicago Twitter page. And I'm criticizing members of Congress who are openly who are openly contemplating genocide against a population of 2.3 million people, half of which are children.
I have criticized that over and over again. I will continue to do so. Lindsey Graham does not represent my views. I don't share any views with Lindsey Graham. His foreign policy is everything I think the Republican Party should pivot away from, and the Democratic Party, frankly, which is more bloodthirsty than the Republicans on this.
You keep saying that you criticize this stuff, Robbie, but
I do criticize. I don't hear a lot of criticism from you of the leftist groups endorsing terrorist attacks.
I don't think the leftist group should endorse terrorist attacks.
Well, they are endorsing
Wait a minute. Well, okay, and I don't agree with that. But what I fundamentally do agree with is that they endorse the right to resist. And you keep sitting here saying, I support.
What does that mean?
I support the occupation. The same way that if Israel has the right to defend itself, Palestinians also have the right to resist under international law. You are not allowed to keep people in an apartheid state and an occupied condition.
You're not allowed to shoot randomly into people's cars because you don't like the political situation.
You're not allowed to bomb humanitarian aid workers and Palestinian children.
I agree, you shouldn't do that.
Okay, so why is it that it only comes out they're not allowed? Israel has the right to resist, and it is violating international law. That's the subject of the conversation always. Palestinians have the right to resist.
And has violated
international. Well, talk to Bibi Netanyahu about it, because it's him and his right-wing
You're acting like I haven't criticized him all 3 days.
Why is it every time there's an effort to get to the root cause here? Who caused Hamas? Bibi Netanyahu. Who's killing these children? Who's keeping this occupied?
Who is endorsing what Hamas is doing? The American left. That's who.
That's insane, Rob.
Well, it's true. It is insane, but it's true.
I
can see their statements.
Okay.
Everyone knows it and everyone understands
it.
it.
The American left disappears, and suddenly Israel is a multiracial, multi-religious, halcyon fantasy land where Jews and Palestinians are walking arm in arm down the Gaza Strip.
The American left is humiliating itself on this issue. It's so apparent to everyone.
You want that to be true so hard. But what the reality is that finally the veil where everyone feels appalled to say the simple words, Palestine is an apartheid state. Israel is oppressing an occupied people. 2.3 million people, half of which are children, are being systematically starved and denied medical attention and denied clean water and
violent resistance against innocent people is the correct response.
Incredible freedom to finally be able to say those things. And in response, because Israel understands.
Wow, Jesus. All right. So what she's saying is that because of what they were going through, they had the right to resist. What they showed us was not them trying to go to war with Israel. They showed us that they were resisting. That's what they showed us. And based off of them resisting and them having a right to resist, Israel now have no right to respond. I don't get that part. That's the part I'm lost on that, because okay, you have a right to resist. So your way of resisting is to just start killing a whole bunch of random people in another country. And you believe that there should be no response? That's the part I don't fully understand. I really don't get that part. Maybe she's not saying that. Maybe she's not saying that. She's trying to get to the root of the whole thing, trying to get to the bottom of it. And I want her to, just for my understanding overall. That's why I'm just listening to them go back and forth. And I absolutely love this conversation that they're having. I do. I think that they are killing it. I think she came to fight. I think she provides the most information for her stance. She does. She does. Which makes, but this, to put it out there, and I don't know if she mean this, but to put it out there that being that they are oppressed and they are an apartheid state and they were going through so much, that they had the right to resist by way of killing a bunch of innocent people, and then believing that they can't get that done back to them because they had a right to do it in the first place. No retaliation. No retaliation is necessary, or else they're saying that the people that were killed already were enough. Like, you all already killed a whole bunch of our people. Now it's your turn. And we're doing this not to start a war. We're doing this to start a conversation. I don't get that part. That's why I'm listening to it right now, so I can understand more. Some of those people were just walking down the street, minding their own business. Yep, our virtues are our downfall and weaknesses. Yep. I've heard a few talks with those from Hamas recently, and they tell you this. Okay, so they all feel like they were justified in doing what they were doing.
The incredible power of shifting its greatest allies in the public opinion away from unquestioning support. It is going out of...
Nothing is sending people more supportive of Israel than what the left is doing right now. More supportive of military action, which is what Hamas wants.
People are going out of their way to lie and spread from the podium of the United States of America. The president is they're so threatened by people being able to just speak to the obvious horror that the Palestinians have been living under for years, that they're now willing to lie and fabricate stories about Israeli kids in cages and what seems to be, and we'll see if any more reporting vets this out, a lie about 40 beheaded. How low and craven and gross do you have to be to make up a lie?
How craven do you have to be to say they had it coming, which is what these people are saying?
You can keep putting words in people's mouth, but nobody believes that, Robbie.
Well, you can see it. I read the exact statement.
Tell your own tale.
The right to resist and fight for their own liberation. This weekend's events are no different.
Yes.
That is an endorsement under the banner of liberation, of the attacks that Hamas took this weekend.
Your quibble was with international law and the fact that you seem to think that people should be living in prison conditions for the rest of their lives without ever doing
I don't think violence against civilians will help to ameliorate the appalling conditions of the Palestinians. Nor do most of the Palestinians, I would presume.
Neither do I. And that's if you refuse to acknowledge...
Hamas thinks that and the DSA thinks that.
If you refuse to acknowledge the difference between resistance and attacks on civilians, that's interesting.
I'm not the one who fails to make that distinction. The DSA, the left, is the one failing to make that distinction.
I just made that distinction. You might not have heard it over the bluster, but I made that distinction. And the fundamental issue is that, of course, Palestine has the right to resist, and people have to work through what that looks like. It includes violent resistance. International law allows violent resistance.
I don't think violent resistance will help liberate Palestine. Palestine, it's a bad idea and they shouldn't do it.
Golly, Robbie, like so much of what you want to hear is always in the second half of my statement, but you cut it off before I can say it.
Your statements go on a long way sometimes.
Okay, well, I'm sorry that I'm trying to inject nuance in a situation where you want to just sit here and echo what the mainstream media has to say about how terrorism is wrong. We all agree terrorism is wrong and killing civilians is wrong. I happen to want to...
I apologize for...
I don't agree with her position, but I believe that she is winning the debate. 1,000%. I believe she's winning the debate. What y'all think about that? I don't necessarily agree with her position because I don't have that same understanding, only because I lack understanding of the history of it all. And I haven't heard a whole bunch of people from that side explaining their position of how they feel. But from my periphery and based off of what I've seen so far, they do have a right. I mean, well, Israel do have a right to go back at them full strength if they want to, because Palestine, they really did a number on them. And I guess they're trying to say, well, basically, I mean, looking at the number of people that we've killed of, Israelis, if Israeli people, you've already matched the number of Palestinians because of the Palestinian to Israel ratio, the 1,000 per one person. One Israeli person is worth 1,000 Palestinians is what they've started with in the beginning. So looking at that math, if anybody agrees with that math, and apparently they do enough in order for us to be hearing about it tonight and discussing it, she's right, and she's backing it up with some information. What are y'all seeing? And start reading on how Palestine is only a country because Judea was renamed to Palestine by the Romans to try and rid the connection of Jews to Judea. At least that's how I understand it. She's arguing that Palestine are the victims. Palestine doesn't have a wall around it. Israel does to keep them out, not keep them in. Okay, I understand that. But I really enjoy this conversation because these young people, they know how to debate.
Echoing the mainstream consensus that terrorism is bad.
No,
I'm sure our viewers will be appalled by that statement.
No, it's very brave and big of you to do that. The courageous thing to do right now is to call out
You do, in fact, make it seem difficult.
Our state-funded abuses of the Palestinian people. And while you say, I agree with that, every time I bring it up, you never bring it up. I bring it up and you say, oh, yeah, I agree. But that doesn't sound like advocacy to me.
That's not fair whatsoever. I absolutely advocate it's non-intervention and peace on both fronts, on all fronts, as our Libertarian Party guest was saying. That's why I'm a member of that party. Doesn't matter what your personal views are of it. We should not have violence between countries. We should not endorse and fund it. We're united on that. And no one should enact violence against someone else, and then you shouldn't engage in retaliatory violence against other people for the violence that was perpetrated against you. I don't know why that's controversial.
It's not controversial. What's controversial is why nobody wants to talk about what 2.3 million people sitting in open air prison for 17 years are supposed to do about that situation.
All right, more rising?
Okay. So they're sitting in open air prisons. Could y'all please explain that part right there? Open air prison. All right. 2.3 million people in open air prisons. What exactly does that mean, in a sentence? I really enjoy this back and forth that they had. Like, here are colleagues who have some levels of understanding that they both agree with, but they are in a position where they are encouraged to speak truthfully and not hold back. I like that. Let me see here. How they get all them rockets in the prison. That should tell you everything. Okay, I got you. But she said 2.3 million people in open air prisons. What does that mean? Hamas' mission statement. Allah is its goal. The Prophet is the model. The Quran is its constitution. Jihad is its path, and death for the sake of Allah. It's not a prison. They are kept out. All right, so it's not an open air prison. It's just simply you all are out there. There are 2.3 million people out there, out that way. The reason why y'all are out there by yourselves is because you all want to kill us. Why will we let y'all in here? Stay out there until you no longer want to kill us. Oh, you will always want to kill us? Then you will always stay out there. Is it that simple? Did I say that properly, or am I still off? Because if that's the case, now I understand it. They've been starving us. They haven't been giving us what we need, what we want. They've been starving our kids. Are they doing that because you guys want to kill them? Based off what I just now said, guys, is that about right? I'm just trying to understand this whole 2.3 million open air prison thing for real. You can look at her face. She is heated. They have been giving them food and water for years. Okay, so they have been taking care of them, but definitely not as well as Palestine believe they should be taken care of. So being that when they were around them, all they wanted to do was kill them, they said, okay, you guys get out. Put all of them out, okay? Put all of them, every last one of them. And the young lady believed that if you're going to do that to a people, how else can they get your attention? They get your attention through violence. That's how they get your attention. Now we got your attention through violence. You came back and you killed a bunch more of our people. All right, let's call it done and just provide us with what we need in order to move forward. Although we will kill you if we get an opportunity. Nah, man, how would you? I don't know how anybody could govern these groups of individuals. I don't. Let me see here. It's pretty much that simple. It says jihad in the mission statement. Jihad definition is a struggle or fight against the enemies of Islam, and Jews are the enemies of Islam. So with that said, how come Israel provides them with anything, with any water, with any anything to I guess to feed them, any food, any clothing, any resources? How come they provide them with anything? Are they obligated because they are the biggest territory near them? This thing right here is twisting my mind because God is good, brother. They're trying to do Christian-like behavior. They know that they need what they need, so they provide them what they believe they should have in order to survive. And they're still saying, no, we want to get rid of y'all. Wow. Okay. Sounds good to me. I appreciate y'all for breaking that down. It's kind of nuts, but I love it.
Right.
No solutions? No thoughts?
What do you mean?
I'm just asking.
I'm not an expert in the region. I support what the two-state solution. You said a two-state solution isn't what they actually want.
It's not.
Whatever
it's not,
equal
because
participation.
Of the Israeli regime of settler colonialism and expanding the settlements, there's like a cheesecloth network of what Palestine is even left, and it's not sustainable. It's not. There's no state.
We can have
to draw a line around.
We can have on whatever guest you want, who is an expert on what would be best for the Palestinian people, or is in touch with what the desire of the Palestinian people is for land and equal political treatment. And I will likely endorse whatever that.
I can tell you, the fundamental issue is that Israel has said it has, as a matter of state policy, needing to do population control because they recognize that if they want to maintain an Israeli state with a two-tiered hierarchical system of representation within their state where your rights accrue along with your religious identity, that you cannot allow there to be a large population of Arabs and Muslims within your own country.
So what is your solution?
Which means they have to do literal population control, which is why they have 2.3 million Arabs locked up in an open air prison. To have any kind of democracy,
okay, you're describing the problem to me, and I endorse the problem. What are you saying is the solution?
Well, I'm going to describe the problem because the problem never gets described.
Well, you just attacked me for not being able to articulate a solution.
Yeah, you can't be the one to describe the problem and expect for the person sitting across from you to bring the solutions. No, if you're going to bring the problems to the table, also bring some solutions. You can't bring nobody the problem and say, well, they wouldn't be in this position if. That's the problem that we're having in all these urban cities around the United States of America. They aren't being held accountable for their actions because people like yourself keep on coming to the table with, well, they wouldn't be in this position if, well, they wouldn't be stealing if, well, they wouldn't be selling drugs if, well, they wouldn't be robbing if, well, they wouldn't be killing if, well, they wouldn't be using if, they wouldn't be so aggressive if. My job is to bring you the problems. Your job is to solve the problems. Who said that? That's weird. That's kind of weird. It's weak. It really is, man. In my opinion. That right there will make you lost the debate when you said that. That right there, hopefully whatever she says after this makes up for it. But I thought she was doing a damn good job in her debate because she is the one that's providing a whole lot of information. I don't know if y'all were paying attention whether you disagree with her or not. She has been. Not enough information to pull me on one side or the other. But I do have a better understanding as to the side she's taking, but that's pointless now because She's just putting a whole bunch of the problems out there, explaining the history. And I guess explaining the history would give them a pass for their actions because they've been disenfranchised for so long that they should fight in some type of way. And since we're totally against it as Americans who are Christians and beholden to the land of Israel, we automatically poop on the Palestine's point of view, not trying to understand them and automatically going to, well, it's a war now. They started it. Israel has the right to finish it. And if any innocent people perish from this, then that's just a casualty of war. But that's absolutely the truth, though, because unfortunately, when you bomb and attack someone's country, you can't tell them how to respond now. I can't tell you how to respond. I can't tell you how long to respond. As a matter of fact, the more people that they leave in the Hamas, the more they have to look over their shoulders because there's going to be more people who want to get rid of them right next door to them, like right there. So that makes no sense. But again, I'm not an expert on this, far from it. I'm just listening to two young people have a great, phenomenal discussion about this. And this right here was very informative for me.
Well, if I got to do it on your timeline, Robbie, do you want to also give me the words that you want me to say, or do you want me to make the case? The fundamental problem is that Israel, as it's currently self-defined, will not allow the kinds of democracy and freedom of movement in the terms that Palestinians want, because they don't want it to ever be the case that they are outnumbered demographically in an actual democracy within Israel. So the kind of solutions that would allow like a one-state solution are going to be rejected by Israel, who wants to maintain a status as a Jewish state. That is the fundamental crux of the issue, and so few of our conversations get to what it means to have a Jewish state, what it means to have a belief that you cannot be safe but for having a demographically rigged situation like that. And I understand obviously the historical conditions that make people feel that way. But I do think that last weekend's, and there was a great article in the New York Magazine about this, in the New Yorker about this, that made the case that the violence and the killing of civilians was horrible last weekend. But I think the reality that it shifted for many Israelis who are now arguing for real peace and some real changes to what's going on in Gaza is that they thought there was this belief that it was sustainable, that you could kind of have a peaceful, happy Israel and shuttle people away, and that was sustainable. And now that people realize that people can break out of the prison with bulldozers and the like, and that they are in fact safe, and that they are able to be victimized in the way that people were victimized over the weekend.
So breaking out of the prison to her is breaking into Israel. Is that what that is? So, oh, wow. So the way she look at Palestine, she looks at all of Palestine as the prison. She look at all of what Israel does for Palestine as crumbs. These are just our prisoners, but we just want to do our part to make sure that they don't die. We do understand that they hate us, but everything we're doing for them is out of love. They might not live as good as we're living over here on these sides of the tracks, but at least they're living. And the Palestinians don't like that. She just now said when they broke out of prison, it was them breaking into Israel. Yo, this thing is getting crazier and crazier by the moment, man.
That they're being forced to the table into a real compromise that doesn't result in 2.3 million people being kept in an open-air prison for the rest of their lives.
But you're just, I don't disagree with anything you're saying, I don't know, I'm being like attacked for not having a solution to the problem. What is the solution to the problem?
I'm not attacking you for not having a solution. The problem is having a solution is very difficult, which is why I don't come to the situation that the Palestinians are in with the hubris of wagging my finger and saying, oh, no, you can't do anything, just sit quiet and don't act. Fundamentally,
that is a fundamental.
So when they act, you don't care about any innocent people. When they're punished for murdering and doing things to innocent people, then you have a problem because they are the accused. Leave us alone. We're just fighting back. Why are you fighting us when we're fighting back? So what? We killed a few hundred of you guys. So what? Y'all had it coming. And she would never admit that because he just now said that that's how y'all are talking. Y'all are talking like they had it coming. And she said, no, I didn't say that. What you're doing is just talking in circles, young lady. like you're extremely intelligent. Even at the end of all of that, he sat back and he said, okay, just what are your solutions? That's the thing. It's very difficult to have a solution because blah, 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 blah. See, and that's the thing right there. Like, don't expect for him to have a solution simply because he stood firm on his observation. You didn't like his observation, so now you feel the need to go all the way through history to let him know that, to simply say that victims cannot be treated like war criminals when all they're doing is fighting for their rights. I guess I would really have to understand the Palestinian people. I would have to really want to understand the Palestinian people, what they've gone through, what they stand for, how many people were lost over there. I would have to really sympathize or empathize, whichever one, with them, with their people, in order to see what she's talking about. I have to, because that's all she keep discussing. And it started out with Joe Biden was the one that was lying because he said that he's seen pictures of decapitated babies. And then there was somebody else who was saying that they seen 40, a picture of 40 or a video of 40, same thing that Biden's seen. I don't know if I can look at it the way that she want me to look at it, but I'm trying. This is how conversations start. This is how solutions are created right here. I'm trying to look at it that way. Don't see it that way. I would need to hear more, but based off of how she described it, I'm not buying it, because it's with every action, there's going to be a reaction, cause and effect. They acted, they thought about it, they planned it, they went through with everything. They seemed extremely proud to be doing it on the videos that are posted all over Twitter and other platforms. But now that they're being hit back, I'm also not quick to make a judgment call on either side of those people, but I'm going to discuss it objectively from both sides. And I don't think that this young lady is capable of it. I believe that she's extremely emotionally tied to these individuals based off of their history and based off of, and she's thinking about other groups who have been disenfranchised and how she feels about those groups as well. This is her position is not only about Palestinians in Israel. Her position is about different groups of individuals domestically here within the United States of America who have been underserved and under-targeted and underappreciated and victims in her mind and oppressed in her mind. This same thing happens here. And we drop the ball every single time when we approach these conversations the way that she wants to approach this conversation. You can't have a whole bunch to say about the problems and not have at least one solution. But you're putting all them problems out there to try and prevent someone who has a solution or an opinion on the matter that's opposite of yours. And you think it's simply because they don't know the history. So both of you, hey, listen, this was a hell of a debate. I really enjoyed it.
Occupied people have the right to resist.
No trouble wagging my finger at violence, especially indiscriminate civilian targeting violence.
I said this before. Violence is not a violation of international law. Resistance is not a violation of international law. Many people, Ukraine is allowed to fight back.
Hamas has a plan to overthrow the Israeli state and declare independence. This was just a terrorist attack.
Well, that's not true. That's not their stated goal. No, of course it's not.
Yeah, I don't think violence, even if we could somehow structure it to fit under, you keep citing international law, is going to lead to the liberation of the Palestinian people.
All right, so then every Ukrainian is doing a violence by shooting back at the Russians that invaded their country. Americans
have I endorsed or co-signed the Ukrainian Russian war? No, I have urged them to come to the table and have a diplomatic negotiation for the survival of both.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Saying that there should be peace is not the same thing as saying it is wrong for a Ukrainian to fight back. Of course Ukrainians can fight back. Of course that's their right. And of course it's America's right to fight back against the British and free themselves of colonial rule, and for the Indians to rise up and fight off colonial rule, and for the Haitians to rise up and fight off their slavers. Of course, in every situation.
Should Mexico come start randomly killing people in Arizona?
We literally fought in a Mexican-American war.
Right, I know, that's what I'm referencing. And if a bunch of people from Mexico came up north and started killing like zillions in Arizona, would you say, well, that's part of their plan to recapture Arizona for the country of Mexico?
I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm so glad you brought that up. Oh, I wish I could find the quote. People were passing around a quote of, I'm so bad at history, I'm sorry, whatever president it was at the time.
Polk.
Was it Polk?
For the Mexican
No, I think
War?
it was someone.
James
It was
K.
someone subsequently, and they were doing a eulogy for a. Was it they were doing a eulogy for Polk or a eulogy for someone else who was a general in the war, and they said,
I caught that too. She said slavers. This is how she look at Palestine. She look at them as the victims and the people who have been hurting all this time. I really got to look into this, and I am. I'm gonna look more into this because she is really in her feelings when it comes to making a case for them as to why they're not fighting and they're not terrorizing. They are resisting. They're not fighting. They're not trying to kill anybody. They are resisting. Okay. All right. All right, young lady.
I did.
Winfield
Basically,
Scott.
I don't want to eulogize them because it was an unjust war and they don't deserve the
I mean,
plaudits.
it was an unjust war, but my point is that just because it was it was in fact an unjust war, but it wouldn't make some violent plan to recapture the land today a good idea.
She will not admit that because that's not the position that she wants you to understand. She's extremely intelligent, guys. Don't sit there and act like she don't know. She does know what she's talking about from her talking points. Everybody, like when you see trials take place with a lawyer that's on the defense and a lawyer that's on the prosecution side, they both are presenting arguments favor their sides. Period. And that's all she came to the table to do, to present an argument that favored her side. And she thought she can calm him down with being so quick to make a decision about the Palestinian people if he knew more about why they did what they did and why what they did and why what they did was called for and necessary. And when you do something that way, then it's not considered a call for war and it's not considered terrorism. So they shouldn't be treated as such. But this young man presented something to her about Arizona and Mexico that she refused to answer. She refused to answer because she knew that was checkmate. He won the conversation at that point. And then she tried to compare them to being enslaved. How in 1776, when America fought the British and received their independence from their slavers. Either way, y'all let me know whatever y'all want me to know about this in the comments below. And if you have yet to hit that subscribe button, please make sure you do so on your way out the door. Much love to everyone who have hung out with me beyond midnight to check out these videos. I really appreciate it. On my end, it is 2 minutes to 3 a.m. in the morning. With that said, I'm about to call it a night. Love y'all. I'll see y'all on the next live stream. And y'all enjoy the rest of your evening. Make sure you give God thanks and praise for another day. Okay? Thanks again, guys. Y'all have an amazing day. And thank you for your participation in the comment section. You really helped me out today. Van, considering this is a religious war, you should learn more about the Muslims and the Quran stand. Learn what Muslims and Quran stand for. Check out Sam Shimon sometime. Okay, I will. Thank you. I appreciate that. I will. Y'all have a good night, all right? Peace out.